evening, and welcome to Fairport Harbor Public Library's Test Kitchen. We have an invited audience this evening. Yay! And they're a rowdy crowd, little bit mighty, man. And what do you notice that's different? This is the first time with no masks.
Yes.
We are mask free. So this is going to be fun. And tonight, Lee Negrelli from Wild Spork is going to use old familiar ways, lemon pepper seasoning.
I haven't seen it yet. Do we have it?
It's upstairs. Yeah, I'll go get it. And make piccata and scramble that have nothing with a face in them.
Are you trying to bury the lead? Or are you trying to hide our star ingredient today?
I am trying to. Go ahead. Go for it.
It's tofu.
And she's going to... Thank you. And Lee is going to tell us everything we need to know about tofu, which honestly, I was afraid of for years. And I no longer fear it.
Yes.
So it's a good thing. On your mark, get set, go.
Okay, great. So tofu, I know it can be intimidating, and you've probably had it in a way that's gross, and so you just think tofu is bad, and you've never tried to cook with it. We are hopefully going to change your mind about that, because it's not gross and it's not bad. You just have to know what to do with it. So the first thing we're going to do is make a tofu scramble, which is the easiest thing ever. Essentially, all you need to do is crumble tofu into a pan and season it, and that's it. We're going to add vegetables. You can put in... This is what we have at our house on nights that I say I'm not cooking, there's nothing in the house, because there's always tofu and there's always vegetables. So it's typically a breakfast dish. It doesn't have to be. The one thing that I said I was going to bring today was a cooked potato to add to this. I didn't cook the potato, so I'm putting the potato in here first, and we'll get it going a little bit while I'm chopping the other vegetables. So think of a tofu scramble almost as scrambled eggs, where it's really just a vehicle for anything else. So we have some mushrooms, zucchini, peppers, and onions. You can use whatever you have, whatever you like. You can serve it with toast when it's done. We like to do ours with some avocado.
You want avocado? We have some of that too.
I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
This is not going to have lemon pepper in it.
No.
We're kind of combining our spice club and our whatever other club.
The Demo Kitchen Club.
Yes. So Demo Kitchen is doing tofu. Spice Club is doing lemon pepper. So the piccata afterwards is going to have the lemon pepper. This one will not. So we're going to let our potatoes cook, and then we're going to get our other stuff in there. And the tofu can go in last. Once your vegetables are cooked, you just crumble it in. So tofu I'll try to tell you what it is, so you're less scared of it. It's bean curd that's been pressed. So think of it like if you're making cheese, you have curds and whey, and then you take the curds and you press it into cheese. That's essentially what this is if you were to do that process with soy milk. I have made it myself from scratch, from dried soybeans to tofu. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Just buy it yourself. It's not expensive. It's about $2.50 a pound, $2.75 a pound. Is this less than a pound?
I don't know. You bought this.
It's under $3 a pound. So comparable in price to meat and cheaper than a lot of other meats. I don't know how much meat costs. Anyway, it's pretty cheap. And so you can feed a lot of people with it because you can add whatever other ingredients. Tofu is low in fat, high in protein, low in calories. So it's an awesome way to bulk up your meals without adding saturated fat, cholesterol, and still getting protein. So of course these potatoes are wet and they're splattering all over. So just be careful anytime you're using hot oil. Everything that we're going to put in here is going to be a little bit wet. And so we'll do our best to be safe and not start a fire. If you do start a kitchen fire, put a lid on it, turn the heat off, and get a fire extinguisher. Don't put water on it if it's a grease fire. Don't put flour on it. What are other things people try to do?
Salt.
Salt is a good one or a bad one?
Salt is a good one.
Salt is a good one. Get a fire extinguisher for your kitchen, though.
That's probably not a bad idea.
So while those potatoes are cooking, I'm just going to finish chopping these guys up. So tofu, if you're shopping for it, and we should say that while supplies last, you can come get yourself a block from the Fairport Harbor Public Library.
And it will be free.
It will be free.
Once
along with your packet of lemon pepper seasoning from Old Familiar Ways. So if you're shopping for tofu, you're going to see a ton of different kinds. It'll say firm, extra firm, super firm, medium, soft, silken. You want the firmest one you can find. So the tofu that we're using is in these like little vacuum sealed packs, and so it has very little water in it. Some of the most common ones, can you still hear me? That's pretty loud. A lot of times they'll be in like a plastic box with a film over the top. Those ones are fine. They will have more moisture in them. So the name of the game with tofu is always to get as much water out as possible. So because this one is pretty firm and it was already kind of vacuum sealed, there's not a lot of water in it. If you get one of the ones in the box, you want to press it. So all we would really do is put a clean towel on it, get your heaviest pan or a plate or something, and then just stack it.
Used books from the Fairport Harbor Library book sale that we don't know what to do with. Come get the heaviest ones you can find, tie them together, and stick them on top of the tofu.
It'll get some of the water out, and you'll end up with a much better texture. We have a question.
Yes, the water then creates, you can't get a more firm, sort of a meat-like feel to the dish. Is that what you're saying? It will start disintegrating?
It won't necessarily disintegrate, but it will be soft, and you'll get kind of a mushy texture, and mushy is rarely what we're going for. Okay. So the more water we can get out, the more of a solid texture we'll have in our final product, which is the goal. If you find that you enjoy tofu and you want to do it regularly, and they make Tofu Presses. It's just a little box with a kind of a spring-loaded lid, and it'll gradually press your tofu. You can pour the water right out. You can set it in your fridge. It comes with a storage container. It's awesome.
Ooh, that is cool.
You have one?
I do have one, yeah.
You don't use like a chopping block and a couple of bricks and
I don't use a chopping block and a couple of bricks, and here's the reason why, and it's only because the spring-loaded lid is a more gradual press. So if you use a softer block of tofu and you immediately put a bunch of heavy stuff on it, you could break it. So, maybe if you put a book on top of it, just add a book every 15 minutes or so for a more gradual pressing. And I think it would be fine. But anyway, get as much water out however you can. Those are probably okay. Do they seem tender at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So our potatoes are a little tender. The reason I like using potatoes is because it's kind of like adding hash browns right into your meal without having to make separate hash browns. It's a great way to use leftover potatoes. Say you made baked potatoes and you had a spare. Just keep one for your breakfast the next morning.
Kathy's in the kitchen. Things are fine.
And so as you can see, our pan is filling up quickly. You can bulk this up with whatever you want. Potatoes are a super cheap way to feed more people for very little money. So if you find out you're having last-minute guests, you didn't plan for it, throw some extra potatoes in there.
Kathy's in the kitchen.
So we're adding half of a zucchini. We'll add half of a pepper. So when you're slicing peppers, there's going to be a little vein that runs down each of these indentations. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can chop peppers. One way, if you're in a hurry, just cut in between those grooves and you have a slice with no vein because your veins are on the other sides. Or you can cut off the top, rip out the guts, and go from there. But that leaves a bunch
It's disgusting.
What?
Cut off the top and rip out the guts. It's like,
vicious butchers over here with the vegetables. Cutting off the top does leave a lot of edible parts around it. So I should have showed you this other way first. What I like to do is, with the top still on, kind of cut around it. Now that I've ripped out the insides, I can't show you that piece anymore. But anyways, we're going to cut some strips. And then we'll cut those strips into bite-sized pieces, and they'll go in the skillet. Whenever you're cutting something with a skin that's a little bit slippery and tough, like peppers tend to be, put the skin side down, because your knife is going to grip more easily into the soft interior flesh, whereas you try to cut into the skin, if your knife isn't real sharp, that's when you're going to slip and cut yourself. So sharp knives, while scary, are actually safer, because they're going to go where you want them to go, and that likely won't be your fingers.
Thank you.
Do we have salt and pepper?
We do. We'll go get it. I'll go.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Alright, so our vegetables are cooking. We're going to season it with salt and pepper. And then when we're ready for the tofu, we're just going to cut it. We're just going to crumble it up.
That's it. Here. You know what?
If you have a more watery block of tofu, if you're not confident that you've gotten enough water out of it, do the squeezing part over the sink.
You want to squish it?
And then,
Get your hands up and kind of squish.
I got some at home, I'll switch.
Okay. I think she's done squishing. Are we done squishing?
Yeah, we're
Like,
switch.
I mean, if someone wants to come up and squish, we can squish more.
just so you feel it, so you know that it's supposed to feel the way it feels. Your mother's looking at me like, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a whole block here. If we've got volunteers to come squish.
Go squish. Go squish. No.
Everyone's cleaning their
I got
hands to
some
come
of
up.
those.
So yeah, grab a block,
No.
give it a squeeze, go right in the pan. Welcome to the screen, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Never thought I'd be on a chef show.
First time for everything.
And there's a good reason for that.
How does it feel,
Oh,
Patty?
look at it, does
Um,
sweat.
Yes, yes it does.
It's wetter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Opportunity.
There's
Oh my gosh.
Very
That's
nice.
unbelievable.
That is, that is. Okay.
Here, I won't do that.
Jan is in awe of the amount of liquid in the tofu.
Oh, yeah. There.
Okay.
All right.
Fantastic. All right.
Is this tough?
Yeah.
So we're gonna season it. Tofu has almost no flavor on its own. It's incredibly bland, so you have to season it heavily. This is gonna pick up the juices that are being released by the peppers and the vegetables, so it'll pick up some of that flavor. But we haven't put any salt in here yet, so if it looks like I'm being a little heavy-handed with the salt, it's because I am.
You want some parsley?
And the pepper.
Pepper going in, yes, sure. Parsley it up.
Parsley from Old Familiar Ways as well. Try not to throw the staple in there, okay?
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be bad. We got parsley, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Is,
So
her herbs are wonderful.
Yes, yes.
So good.
So this, at this point, it's done. Once the vegetables are cooked and the tofu is hot, that's all you need to do. I personally, once everything is combined, I like to turn up the heat a little bit and let it sit so it gets a little bit caramelized. I like the tofu to have a little bit of texture, almost more like a hash where you're getting some brownness on there. But again, that's completely optional. You can serve it right away whenever you want. I think Kathy's going to get a fork so we can taste it for seasoning, yes. So once she gets back, we'll taste it and we can adjust our seasoning as we go. But can the camera see this?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so this can be anything that you want. You can go Southwest, add black beans, sweet potatoes, kale. You can season it with taco seasoning. You can put anything you want, any flavors you want, any vegetables you have. There are no rules with tofu scramble, which is great. You can eat it every day and it's always different. And because tofu does have such a high water content, it's not likely to burn, which is awesome. If you're inexperienced in the kitchen, you're nervous about it, crank up the heat, let it go. It's gonna be fine.
Do you need to cook tofu? Can you eat it raw?
You can eat it raw. You
Okay.
probably don't want to,
Okay.
but it's not gonna make you sick. It's ready to go.
Okay.
Now, is this a fattening? Is tofu like this dish is slimming?
This is
Yes.
so good.
Tofu
Yeah.
is very low in fat. I think a serving, and I should have looked this up before I came, it's going to be maybe 90 calories a serving, and you're going to get 6 to 10 grams of protein, almost no fat. So
Yeah.
it's very healthy. Everyone's always looking for low-cal, high-protein stuff, and tofu is it. So I think we're ready to taste. Are we going straight to piccata, or are we doing a cut? Do I need to just transition?
Ooh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, I do need to transition.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
go straight to piccata.
Straight to piccata. Okay. So
Wonderful.
so while they're eating breakfast, I'm getting ready to make dinner.
That's what we like our meal plan.
Wait,
Yes.
did I get any
Um,
tofu?
So I don't think I've ever chicken is a normal piccata dish. I don't know if there's other meats that get piccata'd. I've only ever heard of chicken piccata, I think.
What?
Veal? Okay. I've never eaten veal and I've never eaten chicken piccata. I've only made tofu piccata, and I don't know if this is the real way to do it, but this is the way that I'm gonna do it. So
Well, yeah. Wait,
yeah.
I know you didn't bring, well, okay, if you wanna make this look more like eggs, I should get up there.
Oh. If you want your tofu to truly mimic eggs, you want to serve it and say, I'm not eating tofu, I'm eating eggs. Add a little bit of turmeric, it'll make them yellow, and then you'll have a more egg-like feel. And also, there's a type of salt, it's called black salt or kala namak. It's salt with a high sulfur content. It's like harvested from a volcano or something. The sulfur in it will make it taste exactly like eggs. So there are certainly ways to make it eggy if that's what you're going for.
That's tremendous.
And it's
Can I put that
Yep.
somewhere?
It's one of those wonderful things, if you are egg intolerant, as I am, I have missed it because I don't get to eat something that looks like breakfast. And it's just, except for donuts, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. And there's plenty for everybody to have more, but we're gonna, question for you, how does it reheat?
I would just put it back in the skillet, or if you have a microwave, toss it in the microwave. I don't think it needs any special treatment to be reheated.
Okay.
If it seems dry, add a little water or vegetable broth. But yeah, this is something I think you can make a big batch of and stick it in the fridge and not have any issues. Something I guess that we should note, tofu gets a weird texture if you freeze it. For certain dishes, that's a desirable texture. But just be aware that if you make something with it, it might be different when it comes out of the freezer than it was when you put it in. Okay, so for the piccata, what we're gonna do, it's basically gonna be a pan-fried tofu. It's gonna be very lightly breaded, and then we're gonna make a pan sauce, and that's gonna be that. So we are going to, all I have here on this plate is plain flour. I'm gonna season it with our lemon pepper seasoning
From Old Familiar Ways.
from Old
Beautiful
Familiar Ways.
downtown Fairport. Yay!
Let's just go for it. Okay.
Yeah, just dump it in there.
It's dumped in there. So the cool thing about tofu is because it is inherently wet, we don't really need to use an egg wash or anything. I'll do small pieces. It's the flour is going to stick to it. So I'm just cutting this into slices, probably about a centimeter thick. And so what I find with, thank you, are those in the way?
We got it.
when you're doing tofu, especially when you're new to tofu, you want thin pieces only because then you have a higher breading to tofu ratio, and so it's going to be crunchier. Whereas if you do like some super thick pieces, it's going to be too soft. There was no salt in that mixture, right? Okay, so we're gonna put some salt in the flour as well. So now we have our seasoned flour. We're gonna just dip the tofu in the flour. And this is gonna be a very light breading. It's not gonna be like a crispy fried chicken. It's just gonna be just a coating. And then put it into the pan.
And the oil has been heating, right, Lee?
Yes, the
Yeah,
burner was
the
still
burner's
on from the
and
last.
it's actually,
It's good. We're good.
you can see it sizzling.
Okay.
Yeah, if you put a piece in the oil and it kind of just sits there, then it's not hot enough yet. And how I usually test it is just to like dip a corner. You want to see bubbles forming around it right away. If you don't, then don't put it in yet and let it heat up a little bit more.
And what type of oil did you use, Lee?
This is just olive oil.
Okay.
So you can use any kind you want. We are going to eventually turn this into a pan sauce. So I had actually brought some plant-based butter with me to make that, and I left it sitting on the kitchen counter. So it's just going to be an olive oil-based sauce, which is fine. All right. So I got 5 pieces in there. That's how much you'll start with. And we're going to let those cook. They don't take long. You just want to get light browning on the bottom, and then we'll flip them. Is this visible at all? How about now?
The mirror.
Oh,
Much better.
They can, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I probably overcrowded the pan a little bit just because I can't get my spatula in there. Let's just go just a little bit more. So once this is
Ooh, much better.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
Yes, wonderful.
We can see all of it.
fantastic. Okay, so
We can't get that on camera. Oh, yeah, it won't work on camera.
once the tofu is cooked, we're going to use the same pan to make our sauce, and we need some vegetable broth for that, which so Kathy told me to bring my vegetable broth because she likes it better than her vegetable broth, even though she didn't know what kind I had. And I only have onion flavored vegetable broth. It's gonna be fine. So this is just kind of a paste, and then you add water and you get your broth from it. So look at this. We have running water for the first time in the test kitchen.
We did it!
Yay!
When do we flip these guys?
Probably now is good.
Oh, okay.
Okay, can we use regular vegetable broth, or do we have to use a paste and then water?
Oh no, absolutely use whatever vegetable broth you have. That's just the kind that I have.
Okay.
I use the paste kind because I like the ability to mix it into liquids that aren't water. Like I like to flavor an almond milk or something like that, so we have like a creamy vegetable broth
Oh, I
basically.
never thought of doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know anything about vegetable paste. Do you keep that in the refrigerator?
Yeah, this is just this is basically like a bouillon cube,
Okay.
but just in paste form.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of different flavors of it. And yeah, you'll keep it refrigerated after you open it.
Okay.
So Kathy's got a nice double spatula flipping technique, and she's flipping away from her, which is safe. Anytime you're flipping
And a fluke.
if she did it wrong, I would have, it would be a teaching moment either way.
Yeah.
Always look away from yourself so you don't splash yourself with hot oil. And those look awesome. You can see that it's lightly browned.
I'm gonna hold this up.
Ooh and ah
See
from
that?
the
We
crowd.
can see it in the mirror now. We can
Oh,
see in the
okay.
mirror.
So once the second side looks like that, we're going to remove that, and then I'll show you how to make the sauce.
What I love about using tofu is it's quick.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's quick. So it's one of those things that you can come home and say, I don't want to cook. I don't feel like making anything. I don't want to make a mess. And there's dinner.
And you'll see when this is done how easily this can turn into something that seems fancy, even though we're showing you how simple it is to put together. So I like serving this with mashed potatoes or maybe some roasted vegetables. Anything that you would kind of put this pan sauce over, and ours is going to be lemon flavored, so asparagus, anything green. Broccoli, yeah, peas, good stuff. I even brought some capers to make it extra fancy.
Oh.
I think that's a traditional piccata thing, but again, I'm
It
not really
is.
sure. Okay.
It is. When I looked up recipes for tofu piccata, and they exist,
Oh, cool.
by the way, capers is part of the deal.
Okay, we got capers.
Okay, here's some ignorance. What is a caper?
A caper is the pickled seed or bud. It's something from a juniper berry. Maybe it's a whole juniper berry.
Really?
I don't know. But it tastes like a tiny little pickle, and that's all it is.
Okay, do you get them in the pickle section?
I have no idea. I've probably had one jar for my whole life.
Seriously. Yeah.
I mean, you're not adding like a cup of capers to stuff. It's like a couple here and there. So. Okay, so these are nicely browned. They're lightly crisp, so they're gonna come out.
You're gonna hate it. I'm just telling you. I think I tried the Fijis too.
I'll just look. That looks fine.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, it's just it's
very
a
strong. It's salty.
it's a strong flavor. It's a saltiness. What it really is gonna do in this dish is it's kind of a pop of brightness and acidity to cut through this, which is gonna be a pretty heavy sauce.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
pretty much.
So this is gonna be a rich sauce. So some of our audience is not a fan of capers. I like them. I think they go really. I mean, I wouldn't just sit and eat them out of the jar, but I think they go really well with this. So we're gonna put some of our flour back into this pan, and we're gonna whisk it up until we have a little paste.
I'm so impressed by anyone that can do this without getting lumps.
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously.
So you have to the hard part in not getting lumps is when you add your liquid, which is about to happen after this. So I'm gonna add a little bit more flour actually. You want it to be thick but not like I don't know what's
Not pasty.
you don't want it to be super pasty. Yeah, you want but not runny either. So you want it to
This is helpful.
I think it is. You want it to be able to slide around the pan, but not be a pure liquid.
So it's not as thick as pudding.
It's like a half set pudding texture.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we're gonna add our vegetable broth, and so remember we're adding liquid to a hot pan that has oil in it, so it might splatter, and be careful. You want to whisk constantly. Add a little bit of liquid at a time. This is the part that you're gonna get lumps if you're gonna get lumps. So you want to add a little bit, incorporate it completely, and then add some more. Be really gradual with your liquid. Now it's in a thick stage. It'll kind of seize up. That's fine. We just keep adding liquid, and we're gonna need more liquid.
Lee's phone number is going to run as a banner along the bottom of this video for when your piccata stuff is lumpy.
No, this is actually perfect.
That's beautiful.
This is perfect. We have a smooth, thick base, and since I ran out of broth, which is fine, I brought some almond milk. This is gonna add a little bit of creaminess, and at this point, it's just serving as the liquid we need. Since I
Pour it in here. And not waste it.
Kathy's gonna shake up the rest of our broth jar. So we
And
can
get
add
it
some.
all over the kitchen. Watch, children, as Kathy makes a mess.
So is the camera seeing this?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
so-
I don't know. The camera's seeing enough of it, yeah.
Okay.
Our audience is definitely seeing it.
Yeah, go for it.
But you're giving a very good verbal description.
It looks like
All right. So you have to just be patient and be gradual and always be whisking, and you'll get there. And now we have this pan sauce, and it's delicious.
Okay.
So I was thinking I would need to add more lemon juice, but I really don't. The lemon pepper from that I think has enough lemon flavor. Do you want to see what you think?
Oh, that is so good.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with the onion flavor in the bouillon. That was a nice touch, accident or not.
Yes.
Yeah. So
It was nice.
so you can add sautéed onions or mushrooms, however you want to do it, and then or not,
That's
you know.
nice.
And then we're just gonna
Makes
spoon
nice.
Yeah.
very fancily the
Yeah.
sauce over the tofu, and then I'll only add capers to a couple of them for those who don't want to taste capers. And there you go.
Yeah.
Something
Nice.
that
Well done.
a meal that could be fancy but doesn't have to be, and it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah. And it takes less time to make this than it would take you to roast the vegetables to go with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Yay!
Old familiar ways. Yay!
Yes. Give tofu a try, and seriously, if you do have questions and you're super scared, you can message me on Facebook and I'll tell you how to do it. So, try it. Don't be scared. Come get some tofu.
Thank you.
See you next time. Okay. We're good to
We're
go.
not off yet.